before I get into this story time, guys, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I could do with all the support I can get, guys. It's a brand new YouTube channel, so still have a long way to go. So please subscribe to my channel, like this video if you've enjoyed it, and share it with your friends. Here's the story time. As soon as my contraction, in fact before my contraction started, they hooked up, the baby monitor that they put around your belly. The nurse brought this monitor that they attached like a screen, and they observed that each time I had a contraction, my son's heart rate would drop, like drastically drop, below 50 heartbeats per minute. So the first nurse kind of looked a bit worried, and then excused herself and got another nurse, this elderly lady. She was looking at the monitor, looking at my son's heart rate just to see what was going on, and each time I had a contraction, boom, his heart rate plummeted. At that point, I could see panic in her eyes, and I could see that she was getting worried, and the other nurse was also worried. The lady, the older nurse that had come in, she looked at me and said, "You know what? You have to have a C-section immediately. Who is going to sign the forms for you?" She looked at my mom and asked her, "Are you going to sign the forms?" My mom was shocked. She wasn't expecting it. Of course, having a large fibroid in pregnancy, I knew that having a C-section was a possibility, and it's something that my doctor and I had spoken about. But from where the fibroid was positioned, it wasn't blocking the birthing canal, so there was no reason for me not to have a natural, well, as natural as it gets, a natural delivery. So the original birth plan was to have a natural delivery, but my mom did not even want to think about the possibility of having a C-section. Throughout my pregnancy, each time I brought it up, she said, "Oh no, you're not going to have that. You're going to have a natural labor. It's going to be just fine." So she was not mentally prepared for the possibility of me having a C-section. I, on the other hand, was very prepared. I had watched a ton of YouTube videos about C-section YouTube videos. I had done a ton of reading. I had done a ton of research on this, so I knew generally what to expect. But for my mom, that wasn't the case, and I could see she was really scared, even as she signed those forms. Anyway, as she was signing those forms, I see this nurse fly in. Next thing I know, again, the knees in the air, guys, legs spread open, and they're sticking a thing into my girl beds. I was thinking, what the hell? A catheter. I had never had one in my life. I had no idea. I didn't even know that that's what it was until it was actually done. So I was that was a shocking day for me. First the large metal implements, and then now that, it was just something else. After the catheter was stuck up my girl bits, this nurse came in and started preparing me for surgery. I don't know, like for some reason, God gave me strength. I was not nervous, I was not scared, I was just calm. I accepted what was happening, and I chose to have a positive attitude about it. I was joking around with my mom and the nurses and everything. But at the back of my mind, I was so worried about my son because of the dropping heart rate. I was so worried. So before long, all this happened like within the space of maybe 5 minutes. In no time, they brought the thing, the what do you call it? The bed, the thing they take you to the theater with. I don't know what, the gurney? I don't know. The thing. They wheeled that in there, and I had to move my humongous self. You guys, I gain weight when I'm pregnant, as you can see. I get huge when I'm pregnant, and the catheter in my girl beds was not helping, so I had to somehow maneuver my way, shovel my way from one bed to the next, while trying to maintain a modicum of decency, so my butt wasn't showing or other important vital organs. I got onto that bed, and the nurse who came to pick me up was so sweet and so nice. All the nurses were so wonderful at that hospital. I really enjoyed my experience there. So I said bye to my mom, and my mom wrote this. At 8:40, I was taken to theater for my C-section. So while they were sticking the things up my girl bits and putting me in the theater gown and putting me onto the gurney or the beddy thingy that they take you off to theater with, the nurses had called my doctor because she had just left the hospital, but luckily she wasn't too far, so they called her back, informing her that I had to have an emergency C-section ASAP. So by the time I was getting to the theater, my doctor was already back and scrubbed in and everything. So I remember feeling really cold when they wheeled me into the theater. I was freezing, and they ask you to, stick your hands out, Oh no, that was my other operation. Hang on, I'll have to tell you about my myomectomy surgery story. That's something else. Anyway, so I remember feeling really cold when we went to the theater, but everyone was so nice. There was my doctor, there was my anesthesiologist, there was a nurse in the room. So they wheeled me in there. The anesthesiologist was so nice and so sweet, and he was a very jovial, jolly guy. So he asked me to sit up and said not to move. You guys, did I mention that contractions are painful and they make you do things that you wouldn't ordinarily do? You don't really have much control of your body. So, the prospect of sitting still while a humongous needle was stuck into my spine was daunting, but for the sake of my child, I did my best. So I sat there, and I remember all these videos I'd watched, the articles I'd read, talking about, if the needle goes into the wrong place, you could get paralyzed. I was, it was tough. But I composed myself, and I sat there as he stuck this humongous needle into my back. And he had it in, and then he asked me to lay down. So I lay down. And they put this curtain between me and my humongous belly, which had a baby and a fibroid in it. So we're talking with my doctor, and so after they put the curtain, I felt them, like rubbing something on my tummy. So I said, hang on guys, I can feel that. So they said, oh, we'll tell you when we start. We haven't started yet. So there we were, them talking and everything. We were having a discussion. Okay, this is so strange. Around the time my son was born, there had been a lot of I shouldn't laugh, but guys, it seems so strange and morbid to be talking about this while you're getting cut open. There had been a spate of ritual murders in the city where I live. People were having their ears chopped off, their genitalia removed, just all sorts of things were happening, and it was the topic of the time at the time. So what my doctors were talking, my doctors and I were talking about it, and also we're talking about the elections, because the elections were coming up soon thereafter. I think the elections were in August. In August 2016. So we're talking about all those things, and I was getting comfortable, and I was just chilling while freezing and waiting for them to tell me when they started. And then all of a sudden I feel this tagging sensation down there. Next thing I know, there's the kid. I'm thinking, what? So basically these people tricked me. They distracted me by getting me into conversation so I wouldn't think about what was going on. But while we were talking, they were actually working on me, and before I knew it, my son was born. I remember when they brought him out, he just made a single little cry. He went, nah, and that was it. And the nurse took him away, and she was cleaning him up and doing all that stuff while they were sewing me back, putting all my organs back inside, removing my placenta, that the normal good stuff. I remember looking down, and there was my placenta. It's huge, guys. It's freaking huge. I was very surprised by that. It was laying right there, humongous thing, and just strange looking. Anyway, the whole time they were sewing me up, I was concerned because my son wasn't making any noise. Like in the movies, you see when a baby is born, he just cries and cries and cries. He just made that one cry, and that was it. Silence. So after the nurse had finished cleaning him up, she brought him and showed him to me, said, oh, there's your son, and whisked him away. So I remained, being sutured up and everything. And when that was done, they wheeled me back to my room. I remember feeling huge. It felt like this whole part of my body was that huge, just from the epidural that they put in me. I felt like my legs were made of sand, so heavy and so huge. So they wheeled me back to my room. There was my mom, so happy. Apparently, when they took my son to my room, My mom started crying and saying thank you Jesus and praying. But then the next thing she said was, where's my daughter, where's my baby? And the nurses kept making fun of her for that. She was so worried about her own child. That's like, I guess that's what being a mom is, right? So there was my little boy who was sleeping in his little, you know the plasticky things that they put the babies in next to your bed. And I remember being so frightened to touch him or to do anything with him. I was just looking at him. And I think around, oh, by the way, I went to theater at 8:40 and my son was born at 9:05. So that's how quick it was. So I think my dad dropped by the hospital around 10 before he went out of town. And I remember, laying in bed, and there walks my dad. And then my mom says, congratulations. My dad said, what? Congratulations, what? He says, well, your grandson was just born. He says, what? Because he couldn't see him. He was in the corner next to my bed, and there was like a wall there, so he couldn't really see. So my dad was shocked. He said, what? And my mom told him, she had to have a C-section and all that. My dad was so happy to see his grandson. My mom didn't tell anyone that I was going to theater. I think she was so nervous she couldn't think. She just spent the whole time praying that everything would go well and the baby and I would both be okay. And my mom, after my son was born, my mom had been trying to get a hold of my sister for hours, not 4 hours, for several hours, with no success, until eventually she did manage to get a hold of her and informed her that she had a nephew. So my sister was so excited. Called my brother, who was excited. He drove all the way he works about 2.5 hours away in another town, so he drove all the way from there, come and see me and to see his nephew. And he bought me a huge bouquet of flowers. It was so sweet. So yeah, guys, that is my labor and delivery story. So if you enjoyed this story and would be interested in seeing more of my content, please guys, don't forget to subscribe. Show your sister some support. Like this video and share it. Thanks for watching my story time, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. See you in my next video. Bye.